get high, man?
That stimulates your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojankin.
All right, cool. All right, hey, welcome to the Rojan Kidcast. Thank you for joining me today. Joining me is Eric Abbenante, a fellow comedian. He's a filmmaker. He is a producer. He does a lot of stuff, actually, a lot of projects, both in the stand-up world and the production world. And right now, you're still working on an animated show, right? You still got that.
Absolutely. You are in it.
And I'm in it. Right, I'm in it. And you also have a podcast with Lila Hart, who I also had as a guest. What's your new podcast called again?
It's called The Comedy Cupcake, like comedy couple. But we have a cat named Cupcake. You know, we have a cat named Cupcake. So yeah, that's a portmanteau, as they would say.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like you're just doing a comedy duo. It's just the two of you then basically doing a podcast together.
Yep, and then sometimes our cat will join in when the cameras are rolling. She's a bit of an attention whore as well.
Is that the first cat you've ever had? Like you?
Yeah, I'm not really like a pet guy, and so like I've never had a cat with like my partner before, so it's an adjustment. But it as soon as I laid eyes on her, just like Lila, I was like, that's the one.
What did you get anything? Because I had a cat, and I just decided to get one. I didn't even have a cat when I was a kid. I was just like, well, I decided because I wanted a pet, and I knew I couldn't take care of a dog, so I was like, I could probably take care of a cat. And it was probably for the best because I would have murdered whatever dog. The dog, if I had a dog, it would just be dead. But the cat lived. The cat lived to like. I mean, I had him for like 13 years, so he died. He died like 17 or whatever. But I don't know, cat. I learned to respect a lot about the cat. Just owning a cat, like mostly because of just the idea that like they don't really care. They don't really care. They don't really care if you're mad. You'd be like fucking mad at the cat. You'd be this or that. They could not care less. You know what I mean? They could not care unless it has something to do with their interest. You know what I mean? It's like and I think, I don't know. A lot of people don't like that shit. A lot of people think that that's like cruel or mean, but I think it's just very honest. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's very, because I have a dog too. And the dog is
a dog's like a needy girlfriend who like a cleaner, who always needs you and is like, oh my God, you're here. And a cat is like a self-sufficient roommate, it's just like, it's there, and then, when it needs you, it'll come to you, and it'll manipulate you. But other than that, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, and honestly, I think there's a case to be made that dogs are actually manipulating us too. You know what I mean? That they're actually bullshitting. Mm-hmm. They don't really care. They just figured out they can make facial expressions. They'd be like, oh, they could just do stuff with their eyebrows, and like people will all react because they're dumb. So they just could be playing. They're just playing us like.
They're definitely playing us, but it's not as effective as the cat, because the cat is, for me, it's just like, when they come to you, it's effective, but a dog is just like that comedian who's on all the time, and they're trying to like throw bits at you, and it's like, dude, wait till you're on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like both are good. It's like the fucking yin yang, you know what I'm saying? It's like the dog cat duality. Because when they my dog and cat overlapped, so when my cat was getting old, I got a puppy, and then they were, I don't know, it was just very cute to watch them like get along, and like for my cat to just beat the shit out of the puppy would just be like so happy to get any contact. He'd be all wagging his tail, and the cat would just be like, just fucking wailing on his face.
It's a sub-dom relationship.
Yeah, totally. It totally is. Yeah. I don't know. It makes me like, because cats are essentially just sadistic murderers, like sociopaths. They essentially are. They like, if you ever see Snowball catch a mouse, it will change you know what I mean? Like, or Cupcake, sorry. Like, because the first time I saw my cat name was Kubrick. That's how pretentious I was. Yeah.
My cat's a great filmmaker.
Yeah, he actually was. He actually acted just like him. He was like, he needed it to be perfect. Okay, like you didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck if you lived or died. We got to do it again. But when I saw him fucking catch a mouse, dude, it was probably one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my entire life. You know what I mean? Like he smacks it, makes it dizzy, holds onto its tail. So the fucker's trying to run, and he can't because it's being held by his tail. Then he lets it go. So the mice thinks it's free, and then he fucking hits it again. You know what I mean? Like, and this just repeats over an hour until the mouse just dies from shock and exhaustion. The mouse is just like limp, and then he like picks it up with his mouth and brings it over and to you. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's just like, this is for you. And it was like, and really, honestly, you've never, like, most cats, they don't really look like they are having fun. You know what I mean? They just look like the cat. I've never seen him look so happy in my entire life. He's the most happiest I've ever seen him be is torture this animal to death.
Yeah, when I beat the shit out of this guy, but it was for you. You know, it's like a mafia person. You know, like being with someone in Goodfellas. when that dude's beating the shit out of the guy in the driveway. You know, yeah. But I did it for you, baby.
Here, hide this.
Roll up the carpet.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, because how long have you had
Cupcake? We're about to be on 2 years now.
Oh, okay.
Like this October, November. So hopefully that'll be around the time when the cartoon comes out. You know, it'll be a nice second birthday present for her. I mean, she won't give a shit.
Yeah. And she'll be around for like another 18 years.
I saw this one guy in Texas, and he, like, you know, he feeds his cats with, like, you know, like the weirdest stuff, like, you know, coffee grinds and like meat and all this other stuff that you would never expect. And he has like the first, second, and third longest living cats of all time. Like, he has multiple cats that lived over 30 years.
Whoa.
Like, God damn. I didn't even know they could live that long. So now I have a new goal of, like, trying to have my cat that healthy, you know.
Dude, but I bet it's because he didn't feed them cat food.
Yeah, it's probably it, unfortunately, even though I'm feeding them cat food. So it's like I'm feeding them McDonald's every day.
I mean, I think that's why, like, most pets, they all get sick with cancer and shit. You know, a lot of them do get sick with cancer. And I think it has to be the food, because the food's all processed. It's like carb heavy. You know what I mean? Like food. I think especially cats, I think, are like, they're supposed to be strict carnivore. I mean, they're not really supposed to have any carbs at all. You know, they're supposed to just eat meat and fat. So that's interesting. I wonder what it is he fed, or how he figured out, like, how many cats had to die for him to figure out the cat chow.
We don't know about the cats that lived like 4 days.
Yeah, it's like it's like testing different formula. I mean, because he probably has a shitload of cats to run experiments. So.
Meanwhile, the guy died at 47. You know,
of diabetes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I actually think that you hear about all these people who, like, you know, they live to like 107. It's like, you know, what do they do? Well, I ate bacon fat every day. Yeah. I had a whole bottle of thunder wine. You know, it's like, what?
Yeah, they smoked and drank, and a lot of them. I think the most common thing I heard was most people who live super long are like kind of chill temperamentally. Like, they don't really get upset about stuff. You know. So I think that's probably like the biggest thing. It's probably stress, you know. It's probably like the biggest thing. Yeah.
Not giving a fuck and having fun, you know. It's like, I think that's part of it. Is like, most of the people you hear, they're like doing stuff that they wanted to do. You know, right. It's not like, you know, I was working at an office for, you know, all this time, and I listened to my boss. You know, it's none of that shit.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know. I don't really see it as I don't really want to like live a long time. I don't know. Like, a lot of people, I guess, want to live a long time, but I don't see what the big, you know, like, what's the plus? Why? What? I don't know. I mean, I guess unless like your life is awesome, or you're just, because it just would get boring. Wouldn't you just get bored? I don't know. I just feel like if we had life extension, you just live for 100. You just get really bored, and then I think that's when like the real psychopaths start coming out. You know what I mean? That's like, I feel like that's the whole thing about vampires, right? Like, the whole idea is that like they live for hundreds of years, and then they just start making new vampires. Like, they just start doing stuff that's weird because like they're bored. Yeah.
Staring at chicks through the window. Yeah, all that. We know.
Just going back to high school, like Crystalia.
Twilight was prescient.
Twilight was actually a Crystalia documentary. No, it's so funny. I had no clue about any of this. I just woke up and I just see Twitter, just everybody's going crazy about Crystalia, and I can't even get the facts of. I'm asking people directly, like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, he did, he texted or DM'd some kids or whatever that is, like, and there's no, I don't know. So what is that what he did? Did he like DM some underage chicks or something? Or I have no idea what he actually did.
I don't listen to Twitter. I don't listen to CNN, Fox News. I listen to Kenny Lyon. Okay, and Kenny Lyon has been talking about this for so long.
Okay.
So I trust Kenny Lyon. According to Kenny Lyon, and check him out, Lion. Kenny was saying at 17 years old, he was approached by Crystalia at the Comedy Store, and Crystalia had asked him for nudes, not of Kenny, but of like, chicks he did, And so this is all according to Kenny, but Kenny is my number one most trusted news source on anything.
I think that's right. Yes. Yeah, you can't trust. Also, go ahead.
I also remember once there's a couple times at the Comedy Store. I remember he got like kicked off of shows because like as soon as it was Roast Battle. So Roast Battle, one time he guest judged for like a really small amount of time. He was like the house hater with Earl Skakel. I think he was the house hater with Earl Skakel. And then like he got kicked off immediately because as soon as he got like the mic, he was like, yo, fuck Crystalia, and all this shit. And so he's been, he bought that stock when it was at its lowest point, when it was like a penny stock, and now it's just like, bam, Fortune 500.
Right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's just like a Weinstein type of thing where everybody knew. It's just like everybody knew and nobody.
Yeah, isn't that the weird thing? It's like everyone knew, but also everyone shamed Kenny for talking about it.
Oh, of course.
So it's like that's the fucked up part about like this whole generation is like everyone acts like, oh yeah, we always thought that, but like we never said anything, or else the Marxists will come after us.
Right. Well, I mean, it's no different. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's seriously just like Weinstein, where that whole thing was enabled by hundreds of people, you know what I mean? And women, you know what I mean? Like tons of women and a whole network of people enabled that shit for 20 years, you know what I mean? Because that's just how things were. And then when the tide turns, then they all were like, oh my God, he's a terrible, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like you knew the whole time and you were complicit the whole time. And now it's just interesting. I don't know. I just always question the timing of things or like wonder about the timing of things because it's like you can't even keep up. It was just like fucking pandemic. I mean, really, if you go since the election, it was just like Russiagate, impeachment. And then right at this last year, it just started ramping up where it was like impeachment, pandemic. It was like Black Lives Matter. And then I was just like, Crystalia. Like, have we run out of stuff? Yeah.
He was like the murder hornets. You were like, really? Like I had no idea.
But I would love it if the media actually had him in the queue of like as soon as the Black Lives Matter stuff starts going, we're gonna throw away.
Release the Crystalia. It's time.
And they're like, woo, Twitter. Yeah, you know why? Because what I'm watching now is the it's like the Black Lives Matter people are actually turning on the Me Too, you know what I mean? It's actually splitting. So what was once a solid like unit is actually being fractured because like Neil Brennan on Twitter was like, he's like, he's like, I deplore or detest sexual predators, but if anybody has any proof, I'm willing to pay. He said he was willing to pay $1,000 for like actual proof of like Crystalia's stuff or whatever. But like just yesterday, Neil Brennan was like the hero of the Black Lives Matter movement. You know what I mean? He was like, everybody loved him. And as soon as he did that, everybody just fucking jumped on and turned on him. And they were like,
wait, you're saying the left is divisive and doing infighting? That doesn't sound the left I know and love.
Yeah, you mean they're eating themselves? No way.
Yeah, no.
like the cliche thing the right always says about them.
Yeah, no, it literally, it happens every time. It's like, that's why we lost the 2016 election is because first they kneecapped Bernie, then they kneecapped Hillary, and then literally a week before, you know, Memorial Day and all this stuff happened, the Joe Biden I ain't black shit happened, you know, and so it's just like, yeah, it happens every time. Whereas the right is just like, I don't give a shit.
I mean,
You
I
know,
think that's the advantage of not taking a moral position, though. You know what I mean? There's not of not taking. I mean, the right's moral position has always been the same. You know, they can always go to law and order, the constitution, you know, whatever. But the sort of philosophical moral position of like we're bending the arc of the universe toward justice. You know, just that.
Superior. Yeah.
Yeah, that moral superior. I mean, those are the guys who become Nazis. You know what I'm saying? Like the guys who run pogroms.
Hitler thought he was the wokest. You know?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Every motherfucker who committed like a mass murder of his own population believed it was for good. It was like we were all doing it for good. Like we are the good guys here, right? Like,
yeah, wasn't that the whole Mao Zedong thing? He was just like, yeah, I'm cleansing everybody.
Yeah,
you know? And,
that's what the Cultural Revolution was all about, was that like we needed constant revolution in order to stop corruption. So, you know what, kids, rat out on your parents. That's what we're going to do.
I think people need to go back and look at Mao Zedong, because we are repeating history.
We're literally,
you know, it's tough because, you know, he erased history, so it's hard to look at it, but he, you know, they used to do this thing called struggle sessions.
Oh yeah.
Where you would have to, like, you would be publicly shamed. You know, tarred and feathered was like, you know, wasn't even close to what this was. Like, you were supposed to just be publicly shamed throughout everywhere and then kill yourself. You know, like at least with the Japanese, you got to stab yourself in like a room silently and no one got to see it. You know, now with Mao Zedong, it was just like you have to have your heart ripped out emotionally and then physically do it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about like when you go full commie like that, there's no redemption. You know what I mean? There's no, because like, yeah, even with like you were saying with the Japanese, you have suicide at least as your honorable. You can still maintain honor with an out, or you can, you know, in Christianity, you can repent. You know, you can repent your sins and become born again. But this is like there's no retribution. There's no retribution at all. So then there's really only one solution. You know, there's
make the world better, you piece of
just
shit.
saying, when you run out of all other solutions, there is a final solution. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it just comes down to always. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to come to that. And so, well, that's actually why one of the reasons I quit Facebook, because my comic friends in New York, they started circulating a list. They created a list of racist comics in the community. And it was created by this guy who, I know, for all intents and purposes, I thought was a good guy. He was an okay guy. I didn't know him, but he was
better than you, Rojan.
I guess
he was better than all of us.
I mean, that's why he is the arbiter of who is on and off the list. So like he made this list, and the list is hilarious because it would have like people like Anthony Cumia and Nick DiPaolo and like, you know, on it, which are just like, what? And then he put Dave Smith on there, but didn't put the other Legion of Skanks on there. You know what I mean? It was just kind of very calculated, and everybody else was an open micer. It was like nobody could get him anything. But it's this big list, and everybody's like treating him like a hero, and then they started sharing the list or whatever. So then when people started going like, hey, what the fuck is up with this list? He would be like, well, now you're on it. And just start putting people on the list.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you'd be put on the list for questioning the list. And then he was like, 4 people personally apologized to me for the racism and promised to change. So I've taken them off the list. You know what I mean? So the way you get off the list is by groveling. You know what I mean? If you grovel and beg him, they take it. So the whole thing is like, what? This is just some list you made up to fucking torture people. It's just like a little girl, like what a little girl would do in school. Like, this is a list of people who I hate.
Mean Girls, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The burn book. Yeah. It's just like which is essentially what communism is. Essentially, is just like the ultimate
what was that thing in the 50s, like the blacklist or whatever? Like people put on it. Yeah, exactly.
Like McCarthyism, like fucking, you know, like it's no different. And then of course inevitably the fucking compound media comics, they all put out a counter list, like a list of everybody who's they called anti-Semitic, which is basically black comics who made Jewish jokes. They're all like vile anti-Semite. And then the fucking dumbass woke comics got all scared and was like, this should be illegal, and then started like trying to get hackers to hack into the other guy. It's just some retarded like war that split up comics over nothing, or some dumb shit. So anyways, I just left after that.
Just on that really quick, I saw this guy's list, right? And so he was posting proof. One of the guys, I forget, he has like some French ass name. Like he like the thing he posted was, I'm in New York and it's a shame that bodegas are being looted.
Oh, that was Francois.
A horrible person.
Yeah, Francois Gordon. It's okay. So that was Francois Gordon. You know who Francois Gordon is, man? I think she might be rich, but Francois Gordon, she is, what is it? She either has MS or CP, one of them. She has a fucking like, you know what I mean? She's like kind of a rich white lady, but she like can barely talk and is like, doesn't have control. I mean, she has a good brain, so she's funny, but she, you know what I mean? So she doesn't have good motor control. You know what I mean? She's like
privileged.
I know, exactly. Racist.
That happened to one of our good friends who, like, all he said was, I'm sad one of my friends' businesses got looted. And he got, like, so many comments on his page. I felt so bad for him. And he didn't say anything inflammatory. He didn't say, oh, these looters or this and that. He was just like, oh, I'm sad my friend's business got looted and he's a minority business owner. And they're like, oh, how dare you? You're acting like Trump. And I'm like, okay, we're now the boy who cried Hitler every freaking time.
Yeah. Did your friend have a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds? I'm going to count every second for 8 minutes and 46 seconds so you understand how long that is. 1,000. 2 1,000. I mean, that's the kind of, it's like weird performative, like, because what it is it's just like the Cultural Revolution. It's like, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Like the facts doesn't. It's just like, whose side are you on? Are you one of the good ones or the bad? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And as long as once you go, hey, it's like it's like I've started trying to write this bit about how like if the the little girl in The Emperor Wears No Clothes, who like calls out the emperor, if she was alive today, the crowd would just rip her to pieces. just start beating the shit out of her and tear her from limb to limb.
He's wearing a bodysuit. How dare you body shame?
She's a Nazi. Get her. Like that's what would happen if that like if you calling out the truth nowadays is like you're the heretic. Like that's how upside down. That's how upside down everything is. Everything is like it's literally like Newspeak in 1984. Like everything is. Just,
he was only off by 36 years.
Right. I mean, and also like, but honestly, I feel like we were a nice mixture of 1984 and Brave New World. You know what I mean? It's like they're like the yin yang of dystopias, and I think we're really both swirling together. You know what I mean? Because it really is. It's both. It's like it's not necessarily because I would actually really like super totalitarian society because at least this is like something Kurt Metzger says. He's like, at least you know where the lines are. It's pretty cool. But this is just keep moving the shit around. Like you have no idea. You'll be right one day and wrong the next. You know what I mean? Like there's no.
Yeah, it is confusing, and you're so right on the Emperor Wears No Clothes thing. Like for instance, during the French Revolution. I just found this out. Marie Antoinette never said, let them eat cake. That was just like a rumor started to like rile up people.
Right.
And so it's like, if you were the one in the, in the crowd, in the mob who was like, actually, she didn't say that. If you go to PolitiFact, it's a pants on fire statement. And they just chop your head off.
They'll murder you right there. He's with her. It would be hilarious.
Guillotine.
I was actually just thinking of Marie Antoinette because I was just thinking like, what nobody knows is that her last words on the guillotine was, "Oh, I thought cake was free," and they were.
She just has all these misattributed quotes.
It's just like, no, I love poor. I thought I wanted to help. Like, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that is the problem with that's the issue with like the mob, right? Mob rule. I mean, that's why I kind of understand why there's an electoral college. You know what I mean? When they like, started the country, they were like, yeah, everybody should be free. But they're like, no, really, everybody should ever. They're like, oh, no.
Yeah, well, when the founding fathers made this country, they wanted it to be a representative democracy because they're like, yeah, if you give it up to the will of the people are dumb. They had the same view the South Park guys had, which was like 25% of the country is retarded. You know, they had the same view, and so it was just like, yeah, the Electoral College, as you know, there are criticisms you can make. Like, for instance, you know, California is really misproportionately powered. Like, it should have more votes, and then other states should have less. But the Electoral College is really important because you can't, like, if there was no Electoral College, it would literally just be fuck the middle of the country. And I used to be from one of those states, Utah, and so it's, you know, it's kind of like the feeling you got when LeBron James left the Cavs, you know, for the Heat. If you were, you know, a bandwagon fan, you were like, oh, this is great, I'm a Heat fan. But for most of us from the small, shitty towns, like rooting for these shitty teams that no one wants to play for, we were like, that could have been me and my player. So all I'm saying is, Donovan Mitchell, please don't leave us. Please, please. Please don't leave the Jazz.
I mean,
my God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Elite rule. I mean, I think a lot of it is clearly the founding fathers were like rich dudes who did it a lot. Poor dudes to start changing laws to like fuck with their riches. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of there's like this guy I heard of. I think his name is Gerald Horn or whatever, but he's like a U.S. history dude, like Black studies and stuff like that. And he wrote this book about how like there's a lot of evidence that the sort of timeline of events goes like England wanting to declare abolition of slavery in like the 1720s. And one of the things they're thinking of doing is extending that to the colonies. And so part of the revolution was the slave owners here being like, oh, dude, we can't let them come in here and end slavery. Are you kidding me? Like, so then they created this sort of freedom mythos, you know. It's like they basically tricked all the poor white dudes to like fighting to keep slavery so that the rich dudes can stay rich. And then they fully knew this and sort of just kicked the can down the road. You know, they're like, yeah, we'll deal with it one day. Just fucking, yeah.
It's crazy. So when England, you know, did abolish slavery, they actually had like a form of reparations. And I found this out. The taxpayers of England finished paying that off in 2015.
Nice.
Like it was on their debt for that long. So you know, since like 200 years. So it's a very interesting concept of it, but I don't think people realize like the logistics of it. It's very interesting. I'm not like not supporting it or supporting it. It's just like, wow, it took them 200 years to pay it off. Like that's stuff that people don't mention. It's really interesting. You know, I was like, that was like one of the coolest facts I've heard in the pandemic. You know, a lot of cool facts.
I mean, calculating that here would be disastrous for the, you know what I mean? Because the amount of wealth that if you actually did an audit and was just to say, okay, but I also think one of the things is that if you do a full audit, you're eventually going to have to get to like the ugly stepchild of genocide. You know what I mean? Like we're still hung up on slavery. And slavery is awful.
Meanwhile, natives are like, when are we ever going to be noticed? You know?
Yeah, right. It's like that old Chris Rock joke. Remember, it was in Bigger and Black. It was like, when's the last time you've seen 2 Native Americans? Because there's black people everywhere. There's millions of them. Like, you know, like I only know like a couple half Native American people. Like I don't, you know what I mean? I like don't know any. So like, so that's actually the real like I don't know. That's why I feel like it won't. I'm not sure it will actually happen because to uncover everything, it's, you know what I mean? Because then if you just keep going down the rabbit hole, then you just start looking at, oh, as Americans, we actually consume a quarter of the world's resources, like, and generate most of the world's trash. We're actually killing everybody on this planet. You know what I mean? We're actually the 1% of the entire planet. Like, if you just keep pulling that thread, then it's just like, oh shit, they're coming for us. They're gonna be coming. You know what I mean? Like that's.
It's also like, you know, there's slave trading that's going on in Libya right now. So dude, it's like, you know, it's like, I almost wonder like about our priorities. You know, you look at like Saudi Arabian women, you know, can barely like ride a bicycle. Like 2 years ago, they were allowed to ride a bike or something like that. And so, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes our priorities are a little off. Like, you know, the Uyghurs and the Falun Gong are having their organs harvested, you know, and like, you know, they would make Dr. Mengele so proud what is happening over there, and so it's just like we need to I don't know, there's a lot of terrible injustices right now, but we're so singularly focused, we can't pay attention to two things at once. It's like, it is kind of sad.
But I wonder if that's really what it is, or if that's just kind of by design, in terms of like how, it's just like a profitability thing. It's just marketing, man. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's just like two things is half the profit. So what we try to do is maximize our profit by getting everybody's attention, focus on this thing, and then it'll die down, and then we move on to the next thing. Because everything's just now data-driven metrics, right? So they have these like algorithms that are figuring out what people click on, and since revenue is tied to that, you're going to continually work on. I think the algorithms have figured out it's mostly what pisses us off. That's what we click on, like the number one thing. So like, they figured out
outrage was the number one thing. Outrage really runs it, And it's funny right now. The media is like Will Ferrell and Zoolander. They're like, Black Lives Matter is so hot.
So hot, right? Yeah, they don't care, dude. They don't give a fuck. They just want to make money. That's why I'm like. That's why they love Trump. They don't hate Trump. They fucking love Trump. You look at all the money that he brought in for them, because the news would have been a snooze fest under Hillary. If Hillary Clinton was president, they would have just been like, the president is strong and brave, and there's slavery in Libya because of her war. It's fine.
Yeah, the minutia, like certain laws and bills that they're trying to pass is like boring,
Yeah.
And so and also it would have just been like Epstein. It would have just been like, it is funny. I feel bad for the victims of Epstein, because I bet they thought that Netflix doc was going to be like the Tiger King Part 2, and then they're like, again, how did he do it again?
Well, I'll tell you how, because the Obamas are in Netflix. You know what I'm saying? The Obamas run Netflix, and I've heard, I think it was Whitney Webb I heard this from. She was saying like one of the executive producers of the Netflix documentary is of that Epstein documentary is basically in deep with the Clintons. You know what I'm saying? And so they purposely, like, that whole thing makes it look like Epstein is the head of the snake. Like the whole design of the documentary is to take the heat off of everybody else, off of whatever Lex Wexner or whatever. Like, he's supposedly the real head of the snake in the U.S.
Yeah. He was the guy who owned the L Brands, which owns Victoria's Secret, right?
Yeah, he owns Victoria's Secrets.
Yeah, there was rumors that like Jeff Epstein and him had like some sexual stuff. And if you do watch the documentary, I couldn't really get through it, but when you watch it a little bit, it is extremely sympathetic to him, almost like there is a lot of lacking journalism in a lot of it. And it was like, and that's it, happy ending, it's over. It was weird how they weren't prying into certain people. Like, right, this person was great, and he just got abused by big bad Epstein. Right. It's like, I don't know. I just think that's the weird part about it, is like, there is a lot of people, that are motivated to, make themselves look good in this. And, it's really easy to, the dead guy who can't defend himself. I'm not saying he's good, but I'm sure he had a lot of, he could have ratted on a lot of different people, so it is really fascinating.
Well, what are your thoughts about, well, first of all, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that if anything, Hugh's just sort of like regional manager, you know what I mean? Like, he's not the fucking boss, you know what I mean? Like, they don't even know, they basically track all of his money to Lex Wexner. Like, Lex Wexner gave him his penthouse in New York, just gave it to him for $1. You know what I mean? Like, who does that? You know what I mean? Like, who does that? So like, and the other thing I heard about was like in the documentary, there's like supposedly this picture, and it's like Ghislaine Maxwell and Lex Wexner in the middle, and Epstein off to the side. And they're, you know what I mean? And they're like, he's the mastermind over there. That guy over there was the mastermind of this whole thing.
There's literally paintings that are like hinting what it is, and they're just like, all right, but let's do the documentary. It's like,
yeah. So I think it makes sense that like it's, I don't know, he's the patsy. Well, but what do you think about like, so Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was like this media magnate, right? Yeah, but he was also like a triple agent or some shit, right? With Mossad, he was like a Mossad, MI6, like, yeah, he was like basically CIA, MI6, and Mossad, and ultimately the Mossad murdered him on his, like, killed him but he died through he drowned mysteriously, but it's pretty much well known that the Mossad took care of him. So there's a lot of rumors that Ghislaine Maxwell is actually like a Mossad agent, like that's who's protecting her essentially right now. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. I mean, if you look at Rob Maxwell, he was like the fattest fuck of all time. Like he's buoyant. I don't see him drown. You know, like it's just like I don't see. Yeah, it's definitely mysterious. I don't know enough about it, but if you're working with the CIA, MI6, and Mossad, I mean, you're in between two wolves and a lion. You know, it's just like they're
at that point. Yeah, that's like, what was he wearing? You know what I'm
saying? He died of natural causes. The natural cause of being with 3 wolves. You know, it's just like, no shit, he died. You know,
I mean, that's got to be some ego though, to be like, all right, I'm gonna play. I'm playing the CIA, MI6, and the Mossad, and nothing's gonna happen to me.
I'm working with Al Capone. I'm working with the government, and I'm working with his mistress. I'm killing him.
I'm gonna have a threesome with Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, and everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, hey, who fucking knows? But I was actually just tripping on like, so when I came over to your place, when I did the voice for the cartoon for what's it called? President Cupcake?
Commander-in-Chief Cupcake.
Commander-in-Chief Cupcake. It was because we were talking about fucking listening to Steve Bannon's podcast, listening to Pandemic, to Steve Bannon's podcast, and that was literally right before the pandemic. I mean, it was literally like we were both like listening to it, and then
we were both called crazy, by the way.
People were telling us we were insane.
Oh, there's not going to be a thing. Comedy's going to be shut down. You guys are stupid.
Right. But now we're here at the other end of this fucking wormhole, which is bizarre. I mean, it's actually been a crazy thing because like, so at first nobody believed it. Then it's coming. It came. Now not only does everybody believe it, everybody believes this like very particular narrative. You know what I mean? Like everybody's now all in on this one narrative. But then we just watch the narrative fall apart, like with all these fucking protests and riots. You know, everything's kind of like, so now it's like I'm like watching the media juggle these two narratives at the same time. And it's hilarious. It's completely hilarious because they can't keep up. It's like not logically consistent. So then they can't keep up both narratives at the same time. You know what I mean? Because it's like, because I don't, basically after 2 months, and it was clear that the hospitals, like the projections it wasn't coming out the way they were saying, right? It was the hospitals weren't overwhelmed and all that shit. You know, it was around the time where we were like, you know, we should really start looking at this data, right? Like we started looking at the data, and then that's when the all those goofy white people started protesting with all their ARs and stuff. They're all like, open up our businesses, and everybody was like, see, you know, you're spreading corona by protesting, and look at these guys spreading corona. And the next thing you know, the George Floyd thing happens, and there's like 50,000 people shoulder to shoulder in downtown LA walking, and that's okay now. You know what I mean? Like now that's okay. So it's just hilarious because it's like, for me, I don't give a fuck. Like either way, I think you have the right to protest. So you know what I mean? Like, so that's the principle. It's not like, is that like, I don't like what they're protesting, so they're bad, and these guys are okay. I mean, but that's the only thing that actually starts unraveling when you start picking at it, you know. And I think, I don't know, what do you think about this?
Well, you know, it's funny. So you mentioned like Steve Bannon. When I was writing the cartoon, I would go back and forth between like Bannon and Maddow. And what you learn is like, you know, we live in two different worlds in the media. And really what it's all about is people are trying to push the narrative that fits their agenda. That's really, you know, all it's about. So, you know, just what you were talking about, the juxtaposition of how people treated the AR-15 protesters versus the, you know, George Floyd protesters, it was remarkable. The biggest offenders were like Chris Cuomo and Joy Reid. You know, the things they, you know, Don Lemon, the things they said about the AR-15 guys, you know, like, oh, they're idiots. Or even a great one was if you remember, it was that party in the Ozarks.
They're
on the pool, right? And, you know, Joy Reid was like, oh my God, it's like a stew of COVID, you know, like they're in a soup right now. And then, you know, it's like, you know, and then Cuomo is like, oh, if you dare to talk about these protesters, you're a racist piece of shit. Like he basically said that, and like the juxtaposition was crazy. And that's why people really don't trust the media in general, is because they're not, it isn't Walter Cronkite anymore who doesn't want to, upset both sides, really the news, when it wasn't a for-profit, it was called a loss leader, right? When that was the news, it would piss off both sides. And that's that's where the good media is. But now CNN and MSNBC, they're trying to excite one side. Fox News is trying to excite the other side. Good news is supposed to be disappointing. People are not supposed to be happy when they're watching the news. They shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm energized. And it should be like a bummer, because the world's a bummer, And so I think that's like the big thing you notice with the news media these days is like, man, they really are. They're just trying to make a profit. And that's where the distrust comes in. It's startling. We need to go back to when they were a loss leader. And that was the phrase that all these places used, and they, it would lose them money, but it would gain us a lot more knowledge.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the whole like they used to keep the marketing and the advertising separate from the editorial at times, right? They were like on different floors and shit, so that like you could criticize a company that's doing something wrong, even if they're a sponsor of your paper, because that shit was supposed to be separate, But now that it's all linked, there's no. I mean, it's just propaganda basically. You just have two wings of propaganda, basically telling you half truths to fit whatever their fucking agenda is, and their overall agenda.
This is a little like journalism nerd stuff, but what you said was really true. Like the opinion pieces and the editorial, like the op-eds, they've kind of merged into one thing. It used to be super separate. Like, all right, here's like some journalism stuff, and then here's the opinion pieces. They've merged together now. There is no, oh, I'm just reporting the facts. In fact, I like news sources where they don't give opinions. That's the whole point. And obviously, the opinion they're giving is what they choose to report on, what they don't choose to report on. But I have enough, logical thinking where I can figure out what the subtext is. But I just want to know what the facts are. Don't try and spoon feed me an opinion. I don't need to hear it.
Yeah, and I think it really fucks with the individual psychology of people too. Like, because okay, dude, so there's this guy on Twitter. You probably know this kid, but he's like a huge stoner hippie guy, and he tweeted like,
"Stop talking about me."
No, okay, it was you. And he tweeted this thing. He was like, "Starbucks uses prison labor, so if I see you on the street with a cup, you get one warning." You know what I mean? Like that's the fucking. And then the most hilarious thing is the guy's like this huge stoner guy, white stoner guy, works in weed and sells it and whatever. There's just like the drug war put that entire prison population in there. That prison labor you're talking about was put there by weed, the weed that you're smoking freely, making money off of.
Where do you get your food? I mean, it's all from like prison labor, just called immigrants. I mean, it's like it's all like every piece of what we do is built on someone getting fucked.
Yeah.
That's called capitalism.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I just tweeted him back. Wait till you find out how your phone's made. You know what I mean?
How did you tweet this?
Yeah, you moron. That's the thing about all these people online who take these moral stances or whatever. It's just like, dude, just by doing this, you understand what we have to enslave children and in 2 continents. Do you understand that? Just to have this conversation. And like just to enable this. So we're all guilty. Like, no, you can't, you know what I mean? Like we're all sinners. But that's actually exactly why. So actually that's my theory as to why this sort of witch hunting thing is going on, because subconsciously, I think it all goes back to the war, at least the most recent thing. I think it all goes back to genocide, honestly. But the most recent thing is the war, because we've been at war for 20 years and we're sort of acting like we're the victims. You know what I mean? Like we actually fetishize victimhood, even though we're the biggest perpetrator in the world. It's actually brilliant. And so that's why there's this sort of like big push to like root out victims, but also be like, no, we're the good guy, to create morality, because I think deep down inside, we know we are all evil. We're all evil. They're committing evil around the world. We're complicit in it. You know what I mean? All the shit that we're saying is terrible, that we point fingers at, that's literally what we're doing around the world. You know, and I think we know it on some level.
Yeah, well, the war is a good point because that is when the media found out that that outrage can be profitable. That's when they figured out, oh, we can make the news profitable. That, you know, they started showing the war at night, you know, like like, you know, like with the night vision and stuff. And to me, how that is extended is now everyone, because of social media, has become a politician, which means everyone is full of shit.
Right.
You know, that's the big issue is like now we're all trying to be like the world's shittiest Walter Cronkite. We're like, we make fun of, you know, One America News or the Young Turks on the other side. But in reality, we're all like some form of that for our own agenda. And that's what our Twitter page or our social media is. That's really all it is.
That's all we are. Well, that's what I like to say is that like Trump is just a mirror that we like someone flip the lights on and we're like, ah, like we just are recoiling from, but that's us. That's what we're recoiling from. Is us, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no one liked when Jon Stewart this week said that the police are a reflection of society. They're like, oh, shut up, John.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think was hilarious. Like, defund the police. Nothing about ending the drug war. Nothing. Zero about ending the drug war. Exactly. Zero about ending the war on terror. When the fucking Israelis are the one who taught all these motherfuckers that kneeing on neck method. That's like a straight out of the Israeli Palestine playbook. You know what I mean? That's what they've been doing. And they actually send cops over there to train them. You know what I mean? To militarize them further. So like, all of this shit is connected. The drug war, the war on terror, it's all connected to the police. And there's like zilch said about. That's why I know it's not real. It's like a sham. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I knew impeachment was a sham, because it wasn't about war crimes. Like, if you're going to get the dude on something, get him on war crimes. He's committed a series of war. You know what I mean? But the reason they won't is because fucking Nancy Pelosi's committed war crimes. You know what I mean? Like, because they've all been complicit in war crimes. You know? Like, she literally, it's on paper. If you were to investigate the torture thing and actually start holding people accountable, her name appears on the briefing where the fucking intelligence committee or whatever was basically briefed on the fact that we were torturing people before the president found it. It's actually on paper that she found out before the president did. You know what I mean? And then that was part of the reason why she didn't impeach Bush. Was like, well, if you open the fucking can of worms up, you're gonna see the order of events. You know what I mean? Like, so they all fucking knew. You know, like they all know. They all knew. You know.
Yeah, but also, you know, as a Jew, I can cover you for the Israeli stuff first. When the DC blackout stuff happened, my first thought is, ooh, they get to use all the Israeli weapons they got, you know? Like, all like the secret stuff that we don't know about, like cooking people's organs from the inside. You know, it's just like, they were like so excited, like, oh, we're going to use the Israeli stuff. People don't realize we got the cell phone from Israel. We got the stealth bomber from Israel. Israel gives us all the cool stuff. They're like our research and development, you know? And then as far as Nancy Pelosi goes, what people forget is, why did she get into politics? What was her big thing? Tiananmen Square. The Tiananmen Square guy was like her entry into politics. And then now, as the whole country of China is the Tiananmen Square guy, it's crickets, because now she's getting China money. They're like, so she's getting CCP money. So that's the main issue with you know, Pelosi is like, the thing you started on is you forgot. Like, you're so far from I think the problem with a lot of people is you're becoming the thing you hate all the time. You know, oh, Trump's overreaching and doing this, and then you're trying to overreach, and that's just the issue. It's like, don't become the person you're trying to rail against.
Yeah, well, I think to take that a step further, it's actually they are the person they're railing against. You know, I think one of the things that makes them mad about Trump is just that he's just being open in his aggression and his hostility. You know what I mean? You're not hiding it like the way a proper politician should. You know what I mean? You're supposed to hide your contempt. You're supposed to, you know, you're not supposed to. So I think it's really just a decorum thing. Like, as long as he extracts wealth from the poor and gives it to the rich, they're gonna keep the war going. You know, he's gonna be fine. You know, they don't care about that guy. Like, that's all. I think honestly, to be president now, I think all you have to do You just keep the Fed going, keep the wars going, you know what I mean? And you just keep everybody rich, and like you won't get shot. Like that's it.
Mhm.
They'll
Yeah, absolutely.
make sure you live. You know.
I voted for Obama twice, but he gave more money to the rich than any president in the history
ever
of all the countries.
Yeah.
Not just our country, all the countries.
Yeah. The largest transfer of wealth. Yep.
He was insanely disappointing on that front. You know, as someone who voted for him, I was like, what is going on? But you know, so that's the main issue is like, you know, I want to attack Trump on a lot of different ways, but he's also got police reform done and prison reform. So he's just a weird enigma. He really is. Like you want to hit him a lot of different things, and it's hard to land a shot on him, especially from the left, the way that Bernie, you know, he could have landed a lot of different shots on Trump, and it would have been really effective in 2016, and probably he could still do it in 2020, but that's not the guy they're going to run. You know, and so that's the disappointing thing is they keep running the Democrats keep running people that Trump actually like matches up really well with, and people don't realize. So, you know, we keep repeating history. So 1992 LA riots happen. What happens less than 2 years later? Bill Clinton signs a crime bill written by Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And then the same guy who was vice president of the previous administration doesn't get any prison reform done, doesn't get any police reform done. And that's the guy you're running? It's such a losing strategy, and it scares me. Because I am for the idea and the concept of Black Lives Matter. I am totally for peaceful protests, but there's a lot of unintended consequences of what is occurring. People don't understand the first rule of physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so what people don't understand is, yes, you know, there is a huge movement on Twitter and online about the, you know, reforming the police, which is great. But there's a lot more people who aren't online, and they vote. And I don't think that people are going to be ready for the reality. I think, you know, there's a lot of polls that say Biden's up here, Biden's up here. Have you ever looked at how they did the polls? This is remarkable. It's 25% Republicans, 25% independents, 50% Democrats.
Oh.
So to me, the media, what they're doing is they're trying to get everyone really pissed and think that the election is rigged, when in reality, your polls are rigged. Your polls don't reflect how people are actually thinking. And then let's go a step further. There are a lot of people who have lost their jobs for liking tweets, for personal text messages, for someone. There's a soccer player. His wife said something, and he got in trouble. He lost his job with the LA Galaxy. So all you're doing is the people who are probably going to vote for Trump, they're going to be really quiet about it. And then it's just going to be a whiplash when in reality, he's probably going to win a landslide victory. I think Biden is going to be like Walter Mondale. I really believe that because it's just a bad matchup. And again, Bernie, who keeps polling 10 to 15 points higher than his competitors, is just like, oh, what am I going to fucking do? You know, I better fucking help him. But he can't. You can't even help him, Bernie.
Well, Bernie doesn't want it, man. I don't think Bernie wants it. You know what I mean? Bernie does not. He never.
He gave up.
He gave up, dude. He gave up, man.
It is funny. Bannon said something that was really mean about the Bernie people, but it's so right. We're thumb suckers. We're a bunch of babies. We're like, you know, just, oh, Bernie. It's like we didn't even fight for it. He could, you know, Bernie didn't throw any punches on Biden when he really could have, because he bought into this whole thing of, oh, you don't want to hurt the Democrats. We're all on the same team. No. If we're all on the same team, we got to, you know, build up our immune system and throw some actual dirt on this. We can't just be, you know, Purelling every statement. But that's what we did.
Right. Yeah. Well, honestly, I think it was obvious after 2016 when he bent the knee to Hillary You know what I mean? Like when he fucking bent the knee and supported her and started doing rallies for her after she fucking literally robbed him in front of his face. And then he thanked her for it. You know what I mean? Like, so after that, I was like, oh, dude, this guy is just like going to do whatever the party tells him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he wants it. He doesn't want it. Because that's the thing about like a Trump, like nobody wanted Trump, but he came in and he basically just like made the entire party get in line. You know what I mean? The party just had to basically get in line. And nobody's done that with the Democrats because the party apparatus is way stronger than any individual. And anytime there is a strong individual, they just fucking just corrupt them, like AOC. I think all of them, like anybody who has charismatic leadership right now in the DNC, they get corrupted by money or they get destroyed. Like Tulsi.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like they just
look at Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile was the one who ratted out the DNC, and then she was going to go on this big hullabaloo about, oh, Bernie got screwed, and they're like, okay, we'll just give you a job at CNN. She's like, fuck Bernie. I'm on CNN, baby.
Well, they're probably like, here are your options. You can be the new anchor. You can be on CNN, or you can end up like Seth Rich. So what do you just let us know?
You can either be an anchor on CNN, or we'll attach an anchor to you and throw you in the ocean.
Yeah, and then talk about how depressed you were. and that's how things get done. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think, fuck, man. I mean, then we're back to like this idea that like, yeah, we live in essentially these like reality distortion fields that are being created by lots of money, lots of power. You know what I mean? There's a lot of effort being put into trying to maintain this reality distortion. But dude, I honestly think like I agree with what you're saying about how like the people who are going to vote for Trump they're sick of what the left's been doing, whatever. But honestly, that's what happened in 2016. You know what I mean? That's actually what explains 2016. So now it's honestly, I feel like if the Democrats did nothing for the last 4 years, it would be close. They might win. You know what I mean? Like it's the fact that all they've done is attack Trump and do the stupid Russiagate thing that's never panned out, and impeachment which didn't pan out. And then it kind of looks like they're trying to crash the economy on purpose. You know what I mean? For all the conspiracy theorists that are saying that, it actually literally looks like they're doing that.
They're running the most loser strategy I've ever seen. Because the number one emotion people vote on is safety.
Yeah.
Who makes me feel safe? They don't want to admit that. They want to, talk about moral superiority and all the other stuff. If you're scared, you're going to vote for the person who doesn't make you feel scared. And that's why Trump, everyone's making fun of him. That's why he's tweeting law and order, because Biden is like he continually gets dragged closer and closer to defund the police. And I'm sorry, the people who own things, they don't like that. Yeah, in LA, where half of everyone has been evicted from their freaking house because of coronavirus. They're of course we're gonna be for it. We don't own a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of people who own things, and they're not gonna be very happy with that. It's just it's not the best strategy in my opinion. I feel like, just like you said, I feel like if they had done nothing, and they really did do nothing except scream, but the screaming didn't help. If they had really just done nothing and they're like, all right, let's sit back and watch what happens. Kind of like what Trump is doing with the Chaz. He's just like, all right, I want to see what happens for like a week or two. I want to let this cancer metastasize, and then I'll step in and look like the hero. But yeah, that's the main issue. My other thing was Trump was not handling the coronavirus very well. And like if the Democrats, just like you said, sat back, did nothing, it was like, hey, look at your hero here with the coronavirus stuff, it would have been pretty good. But now his base is riled up. Yeah. They really are. And so I don't think it's a good prospect.
Honestly, I don't even think they want to win. I mean, I think it all makes sense if you go like, oh, they want to lose. Then it's actually like, oh, this is the best way. This is how you lose. This is actually how you lose. You cry wolf. And then this is why it's not even fun to make Trump jokes, because every single comedian on late night, all they do is make Trump jokes. So you just make jokes everybody else is making? I don't know. It seems like the opposite of comedy to just jump in with what dominant convention. That's like that Colin Quinn thing. You ever see Colin Quinn's special, Red State, Blue State? He goes, that's why I got into comedy, so I could march in lockstep with with society's convention.
That's what I was explaining to people. Like, when you join the crowd you're the audience. You're
Now,
not
yeah.
a comedian.
Yeah.
The comedian is the one who goes against the crowd.
Right.
And so that is what scares me about a lot of this stuff is like we're in such a bubble right now. It's gonna pop and people are gonna be startled. They're not gonna know what hit them.
But there's going to be, I think there's a solid contingent of people like you and me. I mean, that's the whole thing is that I think last election was actually decided by independents. You know what I mean? Like, and I think this one will be too. I think there is a really solid group of people who are in the middle who don't necessarily listen to mainstream media or mainstream politics, but aren't necessarily like in on the fringe groups either. Like they're not in on like the whatever narrative that's being sold there, so that they're just kind of like, I'm just going to look at everything because it's all available, because it's all fucking there, you know, and you can kind of look at it and make up your own mind, you know, like
the one issue with that though is that works for two people who are running, but that doesn't work when an incumbent is running against a non-incumbent. See, people forget the last two incumbents who lost. Why did George H.W. Bush lose and why did Jimmy Carter lose? It wasn't because of independence or the other side. It was because they lost their own base.
Mm.
And so George H.W. Bush said, you know, no new taxes. And then there was taxes. And then, you know, Jimmy Carter, the economy just tanked under his ass. And so each of their own bases abandoned them. And Trump, I don't see his base abandoning him. You know, there's a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of polls that, you know, CNN and MSNBC are trying to throw out of, you know, Trump's losing approval from his base. I still haven't seen that. In fact, if you look at his social media and other things, like other ways to track it, he seems to be more popular than ever, which is a little scary. Like one of his most popular tweets was the silent majority is stronger than ever. You know?
I think, yeah. Well, I think here's the thing. Like, I've been accused of being a secret Trump supporter. You know what I mean? Like, I've been accused of
you have another opinion.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. It's like, well, you don't know me very well, because if I was a Trump supporter, I would not shut the fuck up about it. Are you kidding? That would be the way better team to be. Like to constantly be like, losers, loser, Russiagate fail.
Like, you know, we're broke. We're broke. It would be, if we had money in the, in the stock market, maybe maybe you have a point, but we don't.
Right. I don't know. I mean, either way, I just feel like it's just pro wrestling, like it's all just pro wrestling, and it's really, and even the conflicts are manufactured. Like there's no real conflict. Like while they're impeaching him, they passed his military budget, like that. There's the same motherfucker, right when Nancy Pelosi was doing her like clapping and ripping the thing, she was also signing the fucking bill that was like Space Force, you know what I mean? Like, so it's all fucking bullshit, dude. Like, I mean, so I don't know. If anything, what it's taught me is that like it's local is really what, like after all this pandemic and all this shit, it's like local is really what matters the most. Your tightest circle, like around yourself. Like the national shit and all that shit is like, it's not that important. It's really a big distraction because nobody fucking knows. Like people don't even know who their sheriff is or their city council, but the people actually affect the shit. And people basically don't even talk to. I mean, a lot of people don't even have love in their lives. You know what I mean? They don't even have somebody in their life they could actually like be honest with and talk to. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't
real
see.
Quick, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Goat versus Fish, Michael Allen Walker. He won a local election here.
Oh, no shit.
Representing California District 29. And in my opinion, like you said, those are the elections that really do matter.
Yeah.
The local elections. And so, people do need to look into who your sheriff is, and like, you need to do you participate in your local elections, because no one really pays attention to that part. And that's everyone wants to vote every 4 years, but there's elections every 2 years and so on. And so those ones almost always get ignored.
Well, I really hope he can unite the goat and fish constituencies.
Consider they're coming for you.
Like, I really hope we can bring some unity. All right, Eric, man, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks so much for your time, dude.
That was a quick hour. That went fast.
Yeah, man. Is there anything you want to plug, dude? You want to fucking?
Channel 310. We're coming out with comedy cupcakes to build up for Commander-in-Chief Cupcake. We have 2 animators who are working on it right now. My cousin Nikki and my best friend Alan. So, and
nice.
it's a family affair here. So it's
Cool.
Gonna be exciting. And Rojan plays a political strategist akin to a James Carville on the left or a Steve Bannon on the right. I love those guys. They're freaks. And so I wrote the character around that. And he plays a turtle who's a political strategist.
Yes.
My cat is the commander-in-chief of the animal revolution against humanity. But he plays a really fun part, and I really look forward to coming back on when I get to show your part.
Awesome, dude. Well, I can't wait for the stuff to start coming out. I mean, I can't wait till you guys start being able to do your thing again.
Yeah. I'm excited, and shout out to my girlfriend Lila Hart's show, Small Talk Live. When the coronavirus comes down, I will be sure to invite you for a panel.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Yeah,
cool, dude. Okay. All right, Eric. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Eric Abbenante. You can find him online. It's just Eric Abbenante on...
Yeah, no one else gets named that.
Cool. Right on. Good for you. All right, buddy. Thanks so much, man.